Hey, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, and this is your host, Josh Peak. I'm about to hit record on the audio. Ready? And today happens to be June the 5th of 2019, episode 111, the old triple ones, uno. So anyway, today I had the day off, and I was hoping to go onto the back porch and stain the rest of the porch, but my phone all day kept saying that there was going to be rain, and I didn't want to put stain on and then rain start coming down and then wash the stain away. I mean, that's kind of defeats the purpose. Although I do need to put some stain on it before the thing settles in too much. So I had the day to kind of, relax and catch up on some things that are coming out on Netflix and on YouTube. I got on this morning and watched my dad on YouTube. He's up in Maine, and the weather's a little chilly. He wrote me that it's like 66 degrees there. Really, really nice this time of year. It's a bit warmer here. And he's got a lot of videos of messing around with the old rat rod. Years ago, he built a rat rod, and he's been driving it. Hang on. Got something going on with my audio here. He's been building this rat rod, messing around with it for years now, and it has it's been neat. It's been a neat car to drive. The frame of it, I think, is, I don't even want to tell you all the specifics because I'm going to get it all wrong. I think the frame is from a 1957 Chevy, and the body is from like a 1946 Ford fire truck. The engine is from a 53 Cadillac. It's a 331 V8. It looks like a cool looking hot rod. If you go on his YouTube page, rpeek, you can see what it looks like. It's a very neat creation. He actually spent a little extra money in the beginning when he was putting it together, and had the flywheel changed out so that he could have a 5-speed. He really wanted to be able to shift gears. And it originally had, with that Cadillac motor, had a Dynaflow transmission, which is really, really heavy. I think he said the casing on it is made of cast iron. And this is supposed to be a light car. So I asked him, I said, one time I said, what did it take to get that to work? And he's like, well, that flywheel costs more than the rest of the car. So, it's kind of a big deal. I had to get it made out in California, and they had to ship it to me, and it was pretty expensive. So anyway, if you go on his YouTube page right now, you can see him tinkering around with it and kind of cleaning out the old gas and putting some new gas in it and getting it to where it'll roll up onto the lift so that he can start to get underneath it and work on some stuff. And I texted him this morning and I said, hey, I'm checking out your videos, and man, it sounds good to hear the old car running again. He said, yep, been driving it today, video's coming soon. So that's pretty cool. It's a pretty neat ride. Anyway, he's enjoying the weather there, and once I got caught up on his videos, I started looking on YouTube, and Joe Rogan, you guys know I like Joe Rogan. On the Joe Rogan Experience, he has the podcast and the YouTube page. I noticed a little clipping, and it said, Sober October conversation with Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and Ari Shaffir. Well, every year, I think for the last 2 years, this will be the third year in a row they've done it, they do this thing called Sober October. And a few years ago, it was sort of an intervention of sorts, because they were concerned about Bert because he drank a lot. And they were like, there's no way, we gotta see if we can do this as a team, as friends, and get him to calm his drinking down and let him know that we care about him. And they came up with this challenge, and they did like some physical challenges, and also they laid off drugs and alcohol for the whole month. And they seemed to have fun with it. To me, as a fan, the best part was watching and listening to them talk about it, because you got 4 comedians who are just silly, and they're competitive, and they like busting each other's balls, and it's a lot of fun. Last year they wanted to step up their challenges a little more. I think the first year they did hot yoga. Like, they had to do like 20 or 15 hot yogas in the month. There's a lot of hot yogas. And I think each session of hot yoga is like 90 minutes. So then I think last year they had this thing called My Zone Fitness Challenge. They wore these bands across their chest that monitored their heart rate, so as they worked out, it would tell them like how their efficiency of their workout was. And I think the goal was for them to get a certain percentage as they worked out. And it was interesting to see these guys compete with one another, and they also, would post on social media how they were doing so that fans interactively could watch and kind of follow along. And different people like rooted each other on, or they razzed the other guys about, oh, you better step it up because he's really coming for you, And it was fun to interact as a fan and to see that kind of camaraderie amongst friends. It reminded me a lot of, stuff with my friends. I don't have the same caliber of friends because we have different lifestyles altogether. Here we're talking about 4 comedians where they're all doing well financially and they have a lot of free time on their hands, whereas me and my friends work for a living. Well, most of us work for a living. One of them is a professional stay-at-home dad. So I don't know if that's winning or if that's losing. I'm really on the fence about that. He's the guy that's supposed to do the pickleball podcast, and we still haven't heard from it after 2 years. So if you're listening, I'm talking to you, buddy. Anyway, that's me busting his balls. He knows I love him. But anyway, listening to these guys talk about their challenge this year, it was great because Ari Shaffir pointed out right away that everybody in the room is addicted to their social media. He said, I want there to be, he said, we've done, physical health in the past. I want us to talk about mental health. I want us to talk about the fact that we are addicted to our social media. And he's got a good point. I've talked about that before, about how I'm addicted to checking out statuses on things and, where am I at? What's going on with the YouTube page? Is people watching it? What's going on with the podcast? What's the latest? And I'm constantly looking at it and curious about, is there any movement? Is there some buzzwords? Is there a hashtag that I need to link so that somebody famous may click on it and be like, oh my God, have you checked out so-and-so stuff and it's really doing well? And there's this striving effort to try and help everything do better than it is. And I don't know if that's a healthy obsession or not. But in that idea, after I got done watching the 3 of them in the podcast, I then watched Black Mirror. Okay, so Black Mirror is on Netflix. They have 3 new episodes for season 6. And I'll talk more about that in a second, but it had directly a lot to do with what Ari was talking about. And the guys debated over the fact of they didn't know if they could take time off. And, Bert pointed out a good point. He said, if we take time off, then we can't. He said part of the fun of it was the interaction with fans of kind of busting each other's balls and be like, oh, this is what I did today and you guys can't keep up. And he goes, he said, but I do understand what you're saying, and I do agree that we're on social media way too much. But there's that weird thing of how do you do it and still have people be involved. Ari pointed out, listen, we'll get good cameras and we'll film and we'll hand it off to an assistant and say, hey, can you post this for me? And he's got a good point. You could do that. And I understand both points. I understand Ari's point where he's like, I'm concerned that everybody is a little too attached to their social media. And I understand Bert's position of, I feel like if I don't do this, then I'm doing myself a disservice because I am the promotion of myself. I am the reason that my voice gets out there, and no one's going to portray me as well as I will, and so if I quit, I'm nervous that this gravy train will stop. And he's got a valid point as well. But anyway, they debated about it for a while. Bert brought up the idea of a physical challenge where they learn hip-hop dance, and they wanted to have them all learn like a really complicated dance. He said, we'll lose weight, we'll get in shape, and at the end of it, we'll have a dance-off, and someone has to, maybe we can get it interactive where folks vote on it. Of course, right away when he said vote on it, Joe was like, nope, I'm against that, because once you bring people in it with their opinions, then it doesn't matter. Then it's stupid. It's all subjective. It could be who's the most popular. He goes, really, it doesn't matter. And they were like, well, we could bring judges in. We'll have the judges. And, he's like, no, because judges can be swayed. Judges have personal feelings too. And he said, I'd like for it to be a physical hurdle. Of course, Joe's saying that being that it's his strong suit. He knows that if there's any physical challenge, he'll rise above and end up kicking the crap out of the other guys because he's that more physical than they are. And they know that. I mean, Bert talks out of his butt, and he's like, no, I think I can win. And he's like, but or maybe second, Meanwhile, everybody else is like, you're coming in last again. This will be another time that you lose. But I like his spirit. I like his competitiveness. I like the fact that he's willing to try and boast that he can do it. I think we all have that within ourselves. I'd like to think we do. I don't know, though. I am not as competitive. I'm not that kind of person that's going to be like, yeah. If a bunch of guys are like, I'm the best at this, I'm the guy in the corner that's going to be like, yeah, you probably are. Good for you. I don't know. Maybe it's the brokenness in their brain that allows them to be good comedians. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's some of the sauce that makes them who they are when they get on stage. I don't know. But anyway, they debated that for a while. I think at one point one of them brought up doing like a running challenge. I guess The Rock has these new shoes out that supposedly track your mileage when you run. And there was a discussion about that. There was also the discussion about possibly using Apple Watches because it would track your GPS and they could post just through the watch of their activity. But then there was like, well, how do we get that without having to mess with social media on the watch? Because we're going to be tempted to do that. And so, they kind of debated about it for a long time, and they were silly in the process. They were drinking, they were having a good time partying, and it's a fun episode to watch. Four grown men who are silly comedians at the same time kind of debate about what they're going to do. And I think if you asked any of them honestly, they really like the challenge with each other. They like the interaction with each other, and they like the fact that they are friends as grown-ups, and they're involved in this. And in a weird way, this has also helped all four of them with their career. They've been able to cross their brand, if you will, with each other and share audiences. It's fun to see people interact with each other. I mean, there's a certain mystique that people have with celebrity. If you don't know the celebrity, you're constantly wondering, what do they do in their normal life? Are they interesting, or are they just that person on screen? And from what I can tell, a lot of actors become actors because they're scared to death of being themselves when they're not on screen. I'll give you an example. My youngest son, Jacob, he was in drama, and he would go on stage and he would personify these characters. And off stage, he was very quiet and introverted and drawn in. He didn't outwardly make effort to make friends. He, was very reserved, almost like a house cat. But you get him on stage and you give him lines, and he can personify this character and become bigger than life. And I asked him one time, I said, how is it that you're the same guy that on stage can boom your voice and really catch the attention of the audience, and yet just having a conversation amongst people, amongst you and me, I'm your dad, you and I talk all the time, how is it that you're so different now? And he thought about it for a while, and he said, well, the guy on stage knows his lines. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And there's something about that really hit home. Not only because he's my son, but because I got to thinking about the fact that you constantly hear these actors talk about how when they were in school they were ostracized and they didn't fit in, and they were constantly trying to figure out a way to fit in with the crowd, and and becoming a different person, you know exactly what they're supposed to say. As a kid, there was a mystique about Robert De Niro being this total badass who would, portray mobsters and stuff like that. And I remember the first time, like for a long time, he never did interviews, and you never heard his voice outside of doing the movie. And then they started interviewing him for stuff about the time he did the comedy stuff. I think he was in Analyze This with Billy Crystal. And they started putting a camera in his face and asking him questions, and he started being this silly guy in a way. And I remember hearing him speak, and I was thinking, God, he sounds really uncomfortable just talking to people. I mean, here's this guy that played a larger-than-life character on screen. He'd already done Casino. You know, he had played this really tough guy, and yet you ask him simple questions, and he's awkward and goofy and uncomfortable. And he doesn't really know what to say or how to say it and not seem like he's an idiot. And there's something about that made me realize, you know, we're not that different. All of us. We're not that different. We all feel uncomfortable at times. We all feel out of sorts. We all feel like we don't know the words. And yes, it would be totally easier if someone would give us the words to say. If someone would tell us, how am I supposed to react to this? What's my motivation? You've heard that? Heard people say that in movies when they have the behind the scenes. What's my motivation? When you're living your life, you don't know how to react. You don't know what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to say. We watched the last 4 or 5 episodes of Big Bang last night. We streamed it, and if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, it ended. The character Sheldon is played by Jim Nabors. Good actor, good comedic actor. He plays a really smart, nervous, highly functioning, somewhat Asperger's type fella who, him and his wife are accepting a Nobel Prize in science for something they found. And it's all, it's fictional, so it is what it is. But in the show, he's very selfish, and he's very self-centered, and he's very me all the time, and thinks he's smarter than everybody else, and, so on and so forth. And he gets up to do his speech for accepting the Nobel Prize. He looks out at his friends, and he breaks into a very heartfelt commentary about how these people are my friends, and they help me grow into the man that I am, and help me learn along the way. And I want to thank them more than anything. And I think at the end of it, that's all we really want. That's all any of us really want. You want people that get you. You want people that's on your side. You kind of want to know the plan in life. And you want to be able to do the plan. Whatever it is. So in Black Mirror, let's shift gears a little bit. In Black Mirror, there's 3 episodes, okay? I tried to describe Black Mirror to my wife before. I said Black Mirror is when you look at your phone and it's off and you see your reflection back, that's the Black Mirror. They advertise Black Mirror with a cracked screen because, this is my opinion, the idea for Black Mirror is that it's technology that's just around the corner where it's used in a bad way or things go not as planned. Here's how your technology can really go wrong. And it's interesting. Every episode is different. It's a lot like Twilight Zone in that you pretty much have scenarios where people have to kind of wrap their brain around what they just saw when it's over, because there's always a gotcha at the end or a moment at the end where you're like, holy crap, I can't believe what I just saw. I can't believe this moment that they were able to portray on screen. This is incredible. And each of these 3 episodes is just another extension of that. Like I said, this is the 6th season. Season 1 had 3 episodes. Season 4, Season 2 had 4. Season 3 had like 6. I don't remember how many Season 5 had. Maybe 5 or 7. I don't know. This is Season 6, and they have 3. Okay? Each one is holy crap amazing. I'm hesitant to even talk about it because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I'll tell you what, I'll give you like a broad spectrum idea, okay? The first one has to do with social media and how using social media can go wrong. How it can utterly rock people's lives in ways that they didn't think of. The second episode, I should say the first episode also has some actors you're going to recognize. There's a guy named Andrew Scott. He played Moriarty in Sherlock. And there's Topher Grace is in it. He's got like long hair up in a man bun. You're like, wait a second, I know that guy. Who is that guy? You don't really recognize him until he starts talking. And then there's I think that's the only two actors I recognize in that episode. But anyway, as you're watching it, like you totally understand how social media can kind of go sideways a little bit. I'm not going to give anything away. Just you're going to want to watch it. Andrew Scott not only played Moriarty, but he was also in a show called Fleabag on Amazon Prime. He played a Irish priest. Very interesting character, season 2. Neat guy, super in shape, Irish fella. Incredible actor. I kind of want to see him in more stuff just because he's that good. Episode 2, I don't know the guy's name. He's the guy that plays Falcon in The Avengers. He was also in like The Adjustment Bureau. Really, really great actor. He's the main character, and he's really the only actor that like I recognize on the screen. As soon as he's on there, you're like, ooh, I like this guy. I mean, he's just that guy. You know what I mean? Season 2 is sort of about video games and the future of video games and how the future of video games could go a little sideways in a way that you don't expect. Again, there's elements of the future in the episode that's like it's almost like it's just around the corner, and you're like, oh, this could turn really weird really easily. Anthony Mackie. That's his name, Anthony Mackie. So, Google him. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, I like that guy. He's in all kinds of stuff. And he is. He's that kind of actor. Like, he can play anything. He's really good. Episode 3 has Miley Cyrus. She's really the only actress or the only person on the screen you're going to recognize in Season 3. And you're thinking, Miley Cyrus, the Hannah Montana? Yeah, the Hannah Montana girl. Yeah. She's a legit actress in this. I mean, this is really good. It's probably the one that's getting the most advertisement. If you see Season 3 being advertised, they're showing her on screen with like a pink wig on, and you see this little doll type thing that's like a robot that comes alive, and she calls it the Ashley 2. I guess in the show her name is Ashley, and she's some kind of superstar. And this little robot thing is supposed to be like a companion with its own AI that interacts with you. And let's just say things get really, 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 really off the rails in this. I mean, it is, oh my God, good. Each one of these episodes is like an hour or so long. But after each one, you feel like you've watched an entire movie. I mean, it is immersive. It is intense. It'll grab you by the balls and shake you. Okay, if you don't have balls, that reference, you'll understand the reference. You know what I mean. Anyway. So, I got to watch some good content today. As far as listening to podcasts, I don't know that I've really listened to anything lately. Let's see. Anything in particular? Oh, I'm listening to a Joe Rogan interview with Greg Fitzsimmons. That's always a good interview. Oh, and I got one in the queue here. Bert Kreischer talking to Jeremiah Watkins. He's hilarious. Hilarious. Anyway, I got a bunch I need to listen to. I just haven't had time to listen to. Again, if you have a chance, check out Joe Rogan's interview with Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and Ari Shaffir. It's 3+ hours of just giggling. I mean, seriously. Guys busting each other's balls, and it's hilarious. Go check out Black Mirror. You're going to enjoy it. And that's about it. I'm going to wrap this up a little bit early today. We're holding out for Stain whenever the rain will not, ruin it. And I need the weather to be cool. So if you guys are out there, kind of listening and hoping this comes along, I am going to post some video. I took some video with my phone about the progress so far. I'm going to make a video and put it on YouTube. If you're curious about that, that's under Joshua Peak. But that's it. I hope everybody's doing well. Again, I keep talking about, reach out to me on social media. Tell me you're listening. Tell me what you want to listen to. Something. I'm still here. So, y'all take care, and yeah. Cue the cow.